Good morning. Welcome to Caffeinate Your Career. Today's topic is how to resolve conflict on teams. I'm your host, the career coach with the most, Jason Hopper. With me today is the super senior director of career and financial service, HR director of, I don't even know your title. What do you do here, Ashley?
All things HR, human resources.
It's a good thing that we're not live. All right. I'm checking to see if we are in fact live, and I do believe we are. So great. Ashley, this is going to be an interesting topic. This is a topic that we have not done before.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. And you actually picked this topic.
I did.
Yes. As a HR professional, I'm assuming that you have seen a lot of conflict within teams before.
I've seen it a time or two. Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I think it's always good, like when conflict comes up, to kind of address the issues early on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we can get that done and there's no resentment, I guess. So ideally, we want to remember that we are a team and working towards a common goal.
Right.
So, what's a good way to, as we're working through this, to address those issues?
Yeah.
Like how do we start how do we start this process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So, my initial advice, anytime you have conflict, is to address it early.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So that kind of goes back to what we talked about probably in week 1 of our series, to do it in the moment or that real-time feedback, right? So if you're in a team meeting and someone says something that didn't sit well with you during that meeting, in the moment doesn't mean like right then in front of the full team that distracts from the goal of the meeting, like not then. But shortly after the meeting has concluded, it's always a good idea to go ahead and reach out to that person and just say like, hey, do you have some time for us to connect? That's not the time to address it in writing. I always say avoid typing your feelings.
Okay.
So we should not be emailing, you made me feel this, or you did this, or you did this, because even the person with the best intentions, you don't know how the person on the other side of the screen is going to receive that. They can't hear your tone. They can't hear your intentions. They just, however you're feeling, that's how you're reading it.
Yeah.
So avoid that. But it is a good idea, best practice, that after the incident has happened, reach out and just say like, hey, can we schedule some time, 15 minutes to chat?
Okay.
And then go from there. They say yes, you all schedule it. And that also gives you enough time to really think about like, what do I want to say when I get in this conversation? Like, okay, I felt upset when they said this. Why did I feel upset? So it also gives you some time to really sit down and reflect on why did those feelings come up for you?
Yeah.
So that way when you go into the conversation, you're not approaching it with your guard up, with being really defensive, but more like, okay, saying this word triggers this experience that I had in the past. So when you said it in the meeting, that brought up negative feelings for me. And then you all can like kind of go from there. Okay. So again, just to kind of recap all that, when the instance comes up, the best practice is to, as soon as possible, reach out to that person to see if you all can schedule some time to talk outside of that meeting space.
Yeah. I do. We here, and especially on my team, because we work pretty closely together. But I do remember, like to your point, what had happened was, there was an idea to build up a program and get like executives involved and do like a little mini town hall. Mm-hmm. And that was the idea, and that's where we stopped because we kept reiterating the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what I said, but I was not very kind to Brenda.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And Brenda, by the way, Brenda's my girl. She's my best work buddy here. I love Brenda to death. And I didn't mean to,
Mm-hmm.
but like what had happened, and talking about that root cause, what had happened was now we're like weeks in and they're wanting, you know, for us to go contact, upper level executives for this, but there's no meat in it. And
Okay.
I just got frustrated
Mm-hmm.
and snapped.
Mm-hmm.
And so then my meeting with Jill, who's our senior director here of Career Financial Services, nailed that title, is right after our team meeting. We sit down and Jill will be like, "You need to apologize to Brenda." And she did not tell me. She goes, "I would like for you to." I'm like, "I know, I really screwed that up." And I did. I went right afterwards, went to her office, and I apologized. And she was like, she's like, "I didn't feel real good about it." I was like, "I'm so sorry." And, we hugged it out and like, everything's good. But like, to your point, right then took care of the problem and didn't let it sit.
Yeah.
And I felt bad.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm pretty empathetic. Like if I make somebody feel bad, like I'm going to feel bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I actually hurt somebody's feelings. That's
Yeah.
never my intention,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And to your point, sometimes people don't even realize, like in that moment, you realize that you said something that probably hurt someone's feelings. But there are moments where we say things and we're just talking and we don't even realize that we're saying something that could be hurtful, offensive, whatever to someone else. And so when you don't know, it does become your responsibility as the person who was impacted to say like, hey, can we schedule some time, later this week to chat?
Yeah.
It does become on you so that way you can address it, or else you're going to harbor those negative feelings towards this person who may not have even known that they said anything that was hurtful.
Because of their own ego, I guess? Or just they're so involved in what their opinion is.
I don't even know if it's that. Sometimes it's just pure ignorance. Sometimes people do not know that they're saying something that could be offensive or belittling or whatever to someone else. Their own ignorance, they don't know. So they're just talking, but they don't have any context that this is something that could potentially be problematic to say, right? And so then it does become on the person who was impacted to say, like, hey, can we talk after this, or can we talk later, or what have you, so that way that person can tell them like, hey, this is how I was impacted. And it also becomes an educational moment for the individual who said the thing, who didn't realize they had said something that was offensive, right? So it's a collaborative effort, I would say, for sure.
Gotcha. Actually, one of the things too, the next point is to identify that root cause. Like, what is it that why do we feel, I guess, like this? And that takes a lot of introspection.
Yeah, it does, right? So it again just kind of to really slam this home again, when you have those moments where feelings are coming up for you as you're talking, and it happens all the time, like you're talking to people and then all of a sudden feelings come up, whether it's feelings of joy because now you're thinking back to like, oh, this reminded me of this, or feelings of sadness because someone's going through X, Y, and Z, and it brings you back to a place, or a time where someone was intended to offend you, and it brings you back to that place when you hear a certain word. So like, that's just relationship. As you're in relationship with people, whether it's co-workers, personal life, just being in a relationship with people, as you have conversations, different emotions will come up. But when it's in the workplace, it is our responsibility to address it, so that way, again, we can work towards that common goal, but we can do that when we're in better relationship with one another. If I'm offended, if you had never addressed it, and then Brenda held on to that and never addressed you, then all of a sudden her feelings towards you could change because it was never talked about, right? And now you can't work as productively as you used to because, quite frankly, she may not like you anymore, right? And it's because it was never addressed. So it's better to just take a minute to think about, why do I feel this way? Let me reach out, because now I know why I feel that way. Let me reach out. Let's talk about that, and then let's put it behind us.
So I guess like resolving that conflict is, you're saying it's we want to do it soon.
You want to do it soon. You can't let those things fester.
Yeah. I think that's always I try to almost always operate like I think since it's like, yeah, if you've got a problem, if I have a problem with you, you're gonna know about it. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come tell you, right? And I'd be like, hey, this is not, And I just learned a long time ago, like holding on to all that. You're right. It festers and it just builds up, and it's like I remember. I remember talking to my friend Greg, and we were just kind of having a conversation, and he was telling a story about how his uncle had sold him a car, and Greg was making payments on it towards it, and then he got behind or something, and his uncle took the car back. And he was upset because he didn't have a car, and I guess he felt like because it was his uncle, that should not have happened. And I'm like, and I was like, why are you still upset? This is like over 20 years ago. Why are you still upset about it? And he laughed. He's like, you're right, Hopper. I should probably let it go. Like, let it go. It's like way in the past, right? But sometimes we just hang on to those feelings.
Especially if you never address it. If it just goes unaddressed, it tends to just kind of sit there. Yeah.
Good morning, Rhonda. Rhonda's watching. Rhonda's our new... She's not so new anymore. Career and financial coach. So, and she's watching. Here's a good one, and this is it's so important, and it's a skill for certain, and I don't think a lot of people use this skill enough, which is to practice active listening. Right? To be in the moment and actually pay attention to what the person is saying versus what your response is going to be later.
Right.
And I'm sure you've been in that conversation as well, where you can tell the person that you're talking to is already formulating a sentence to respond to what you're saying without actually listening to what it is that you're saying.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just random. But yeah, it's as a career coach, it is the number one skill that I work super hard on every single time, because my client is sitting there and they're telling me the story, and I have to listen and pay attention and figure out, is this what the problem is? Is that what the problem is? Like, it's my job. It's just to basically listen to people's stories, figure out what's working and what we need to tweak, change, or adapt to make their job search more productive.
Agreed. Yeah, my job, I would dare to say 98% of my job is active listening. Yeah. Active listening is critical because you don't want to get it wrong. And there's so much at stake that you can't afford to get it wrong. You need to make sure you are hearing what the person is saying. So I love the tip to repeat back what you heard. So after someone is speaking for so long and they take that pause, it's a good practice to just say, so what I'm hearing you say is A, B, C. Did I get that right? And then they will say, yep, that's exactly how I feel. Or they'll say, well, kind of, but on B, X, Y, and Z, and they'll clarify, and that gives you a chance to make sure, okay, so now I have all of the facts right. So that's really a great, like, easy tip that people could, implement tomorrow. Like, I heard you say, with my daughter, I do that. So I hear you saying that you want to watch this cartoon, but did you do X, Y, and Z? And they're like, no, I don't want to watch that cartoon. I want that one. Okay, but did you do X, Y, and Z?
You didn't do. You missed the point, kid.
She needs to work on her active listening too, right? So yeah, that's a great thing that you can just kind of implement quickly.
So if I hear what you're saying correctly,
there it is.
See what I did there?
I see.
I think I'm funny.
That's a good one.
Okay. I think it's important, too, to make sure that you, when trying to resolve those conflicts, is to stay neutral and objective. Because once we start to insert our oftentimes preconceived opinion into what we think, as you just said, we want to be clear. It's harder to be objective.
And I think this is a really useful tip for managers in particular. Managers have a hard place to be. It's a hard job of a manager to maintain this sort of like team, positive team dynamic when naturally conflict is going to come up, and you can't avoid conflict, and we don't want to be conflict avoiding because healthy teams have conflict. Like, it's a natural part of life. Everything can't be kumbaya and everyone's always on the same page. Like, we'll never get creative and do big things if we're always like in this, monolithic headspace. So people need different ideas, and it could show up differently in how we engage. But as a manager, their job is to facilitate this in a way where people can still come to an agreement, even though everybody may not get their way all the time. We can come together and agree. So for managers, it is important for them to have no bias, to be neutral, to hear all sides, and then to say, okay, these are all the things that we have. Here's the timeline of when we can do it. Here's our ultimate goal. If we had to pick 3, which 3 would each person go with? And then from there, help us come up with, okay, now as the manager, here's the one that we're going to go with. Like, I heard everybody. Here's our top 3. As the manager, I'm going to make the decision. We're going with A. You know what I mean? So they have to stay neutral.
Yeah. I will say this. One of the reasons why I really enjoy working with Jill is that she includes everybody in all the decisions that we make, and everybody gets their say.
That's awesome. Ultimately, she'll need to make the decision, right? Because if everybody has a different opinion, then we could go 10 different ways. Yeah. Right? Everybody's input, being heard as which influences her ultimate decision, that's wonderful.
Yeah. We had a vote about is actually what we were going to call the department, because right now the department is Career and Financial Services. I wanted to add Career and Financial Coaching Services.
Okay.
To perhaps eliminate some of the financial aid calls that we tend to get, people calling in, and we put it to a vote, and I lost.
Okay.
And that was the decision that we made, was to stick with Career and Financial Services.
Okay.
I'm still not over it, but
if you're watching,
it's like, let it go. It was weeks ago. No, I think I'm right. The team doesn't think that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to my opinion because I feel that is correct, but I got outvoted, and so okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Still some conflict.
I hear it. Still lingering in there a bit.
You said just a minute ago, it's important to make sure that we have the right type of language, right? Instead of, because you don't want to be accusatory,
right?
But if you can say things more like, I feel like, instead of, you always do this, right? Because nobody wants to feel like they are being attacked. And you're so right, especially because you said earlier, it's like, don't type stuff out. And I'm like, oh yeah, never type out because you never know, right? And in fact, anytime I have to do an email that has some emotion in it, I have Jill proofread it and or rewrite it for me, because I know, or even I did to a rebuttal on something, and it was not me just typing it out, not great. And I sent it to my wife, and she took out all the emotion. My wife is a senior program manager at FedEx Corporate, but what she does is she writes a lot of sales and marketing stuff, so she was able to wordsmith it and take the emotion out for me, so I didn't sound so in it. But the spoken language is just as important, because not only is the words that we use, but the tone, because we don't want to have a harsh tone going into the conversation, despite the fact that we are emotional about it, and everything is rolling around inside us.
Yeah, and we're human, right? So if someone says something that didn't sit well with you, it's natural to feel sad, to feel angry, to have those emotions. So it's not that you need to be inhumane when you go into these conversations, right? But you never want a name call. So that kind of goes back to your point about you said this. Well, instead of saying you were mean to me, right? We're name calling. Now we're calling them mean, right? So we don't want to name call. You were too, you're harsh. you were too harsh. Now we're name calling. So it's like, instead of doing that, how about we just address what happened? So that kind of goes back to examples, what we talked about a few weeks ago during like the interview prep and all that. Examples. Where can I give an example? Like, hey, during our team meeting on Tuesday, you said this, and this, and that made me feel this, and this. So all we're doing is restating the facts, and this is how it made me feel. This is the impact that it had on me when I heard you say this, and this. So we're not name calling. We're not calling them mean. We're not calling them harsh. We're just repeating exactly what happened during the meeting, which also gives them a chance to clarify, like, oh, like, I didn't know X, Y, and Z. Or, oh, well, I only meant X, Y, and Z. But again, we're going back to that moment in time. So we were both there. So we both know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a focal point that we can agree to. And then we just talk through the feelings of it and how we can move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. And that's something too I never really thought of, and not because I think people do that and they don't realize they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you were mean or you were harsh,
mm-hmm.
or we talked about a few weeks ago, like feedback being a gift and making sure you ask for that feedback,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then make sure that you're accepting it
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with the best intention.
With the best intention. And examples help so much. If you can take us back to that moment that we were both there, so we can both rewind the tape. We were both there. Here's what happened. Here's how that made me feel. Here was the impact that had on me. Then the human in us should be able to get to a place where it's like, okay, I can understand how that made you feel that way and go from there.
Yeah. I like it. I think remembering, and you just kind of mentioned that, is what is the shared goal? What is it that we're trying to achieve here as a team, and why is this not working, or what is it why are we having this conflict, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I was in staffing and I was working for a startup company, and it was a 100% commission job.
Mm-hmm.
It was a kind of like a boiler room situation for recruiters, and we only had I think 4 recruiters in-house, and so startups not going well, and the 2 owners, what wasn't going well is we're just not making enough profit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the 2 owners then had everybody come into the conference room one-on-one, and I'm watching the other recruiters come out of this meeting, and they just look even more sad than when they went in, right? And I'm like, I'm not real sure what's going on in that meeting, but I need to figure something out.
Yeah.
Also, too, I'm like, I'm working straight commission. Like, I don't need to be doing anything else but trying to close right now. And I don't really want you guys mad at me or telling me what a crap job I'm doing, and I need to close more because I'm doing everything I can, right? And so I went to this meeting and I sit down, and before they could say anything to me, I said, if this is the meeting where you guys give me the pep talk, can we just assume that it's already happened and that it worked and I'm peppy? Ashley, you should have seen how far down their jaws dropped. Both of them did not know what to say to that response.
Yeah.
And they just kind of looked at me. I'm like, okay, great. And I walked out the door. Right?
Yeah.
And so I went back to trying to work. But my point is, that wasn't the shared goal, right? It's not build up the person to make sure that what tools can I give you? Because we didn't have tools. There was no, we had one of the owners knew somebody that had a Career Builder account, and they had gave us access to it, but then that got shut down, and so now it's like we don't have any candidates. They didn't have existing candidates because they're a startup. I mean, it's just like a mess, right?
Yeah.
But the goal, I guess, really wasn't well defined within the company.
Yeah.
And I ended up leaving like in 6 months, I think. So.
Yeah. The shared goal is important. I think going back to just kind of like us as an organization, like every department plays its role, but ultimately we have a shared goal of serving our clients, serving our community, right? And how we get there looks different program to program, department to department. But as a collective, we have to work together and be able to resolve conflict in a healthy way in order to reach that ultimate goal, because we don't do that without the people. And so it's important for us to be able to like remember, like, hey, here's our goal of our department, here's the goal of our team, and we are the ones that are going to make that happen. So what do we need to do to get rid of this negative conflict? Like constructive conflict is fine because you get great ideas out of that.
Yeah.
But then once it becomes like this negative conflict where I don't want to work with you and, you know, this type of thing, like what do we need to do to squash that so we can get to that shared goal? Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I've had that come up before. With the negative conflict, and you know, I just worked it through. You know, because at the end of the day, you're right. It's just about the client, not you and your ego. Like I tell my clients all the time. Like I'm like, my goal is to get you off of my active list as quick as possible. I don't want to draw this out because you don't want to be here. And guess what? I don't want you to be here. It's like, happy you're here. I want you working. I want you out because that's what you want. That's your goal. And I want you to reach that as fast as I can. Right? And, you know, because really, it's like, not about me. I don't care how they get there. That was my point. It's like, I don't care how they get to there. Like if it was something I did and said that helped them, or somebody else that they talked to, I don't care. I don't have any ego in it. I just want them back to work as fast as I can.
That's right.
You know?
Yep.
Brainstorming solutions together.
Yeah.
You're right. I think that type of conflict can create different ideas, and I think that the more creative ideas we have, the more we're able to move the department and maybe ultimately the company forward.
Yeah, agreed. And when I think about brainstorming ideas at the end of conflict, so once we've addressed the issue that we had, I think it's important not to just leave it there, but to work together to formulate some sort of agreements. I love team agreements. Or individual agreements that you may come up with. So I think brainstorming ways like, hey, okay, so we've addressed today's issue, like that squashed, we have an understanding. So now if this comes up again, how do we do this productively where it doesn't end up being like another sit down? And so that's where those team agreements or those like individual agreements come in, where it's like, okay, so when those moments come up, we agree to one, like immediately reach out to the other one for clarification. Two, to whatever, but like come up with agreements together, work together, say like, I don't want this to happen for us again. So what can we agree to that we can always refer back to when those moments arise and say like, hey, what did we agree to? We agreed to one, assume positive intent. Two, to reach out as soon as possible for clarity. Like what can we agree to? Let's come up with this together and agree to that, and let's write it down, make it real, and the next time this comes up, we're going to refer back to our agreements before we even engage in the conversation, so we can get back into that mind space of resolution is our end goal.
I like that. That makes sense too. Like I think like when we're more collaborative, that you know, we are able to get back to being a team.
Right.
I think that's important. That's a good point. Also, Rhonda said in the chat that she did not think that I'm wrong on the CFS, but it's just an extra longer word, a CFCS. Yes, I don't disagree, but yeah, but I also think I'm right. Setting expectations going forward, right? I think and you kind of touched on that a minute ago. It's like you want to make sure that we're not back in this place in a couple of weeks. I just feel like it's harder to do, especially the larger the team.
Yeah, and I think that's where like the mediator could easily be the manager if you had to loop in a consultant. Like they have people who are just like brilliant at helping teams come together and form agreements. Like that's something that's really well known in those types of spaces. But me, I'm not a professional mediator, by any means. But I can certainly actively listen to what the issues are, and then help each other come up with like, okay, so based on the miscommunication that happened here, what can you all agree to moving forward to try to avoid further miscommunication? Or if miscommunication arises, how can you all agree to address it to bring clarity, right? And so it's really just that, like, if this happens again, how do we want to approach it, right? Because the first time it comes up, it feels messy. It feels like, oh, I don't know if some people are timid. I don't know if I should approach them, if I should just go straight to HR. And it's like, no, never come straight to me. Never, ever, ever come straight to me. Always, always, always try to resolve it with the person you have conflict with first. That's your first step. If it's super egregious or, something like that, then take it to a manager. But make HR your last stop, because you don't want, once HR becomes involved, all of a sudden it feels more intense. It feels like somebody's about to lose their job. Somebody's about to get written up. Like, it gets intense once it makes it over there to me. Yeah. And the first question I ask is, okay, so what's been done so far? And then sometimes it's like, nothing. Like, I was the first stop, and it's like, oh, so your manager doesn't even know that this thing happened, right? And so it's like I have to take it back down. Like, hey, first I need you to go in and talk to the person. And I try to help give them some tools. Like, when you go, use examples. Don't name call. Like, go talk to the person first. Because most of the time that's going to solve the problem if you all just talk it through in a respectful manner. Don't name call. Address the exact issue. That can really address most of the problems. But if it needs to escalate, bring it to your manager. Let them play that mediator role, because they have everyone's best interest. They know the context of what happened. So that's a really good place before you go to me. Once you get to me, you're going to have to explain to me, okay, what's this team meeting? Okay, because I'm going to have to visualize, and there's a bunch of different, I have to okay, so what happens during this meeting? What's this? I have to get all of that context, and then I can get into, okay, so now what happened that day, right? So I'm the last stop. That means your manager didn't resolve it. You two couldn't resolve it. Let's bring in HR, right? So
nobody wants to walk into a meeting and see the manager and HR sitting there.
Right, because then it feels like, right. It feels intense, right? So, yeah.
For sure. That's why HR gets a bad rap. Do you do a lot of employee relations stuff here?
Yeah, well, employee relations is so broad that employee relations can be anything. So I would say yes, but it's because it's such a big umbrella. Like, if someone has a benefits question or a complicated benefits issue that, isn't straightforward, I might have to work with the vendors or something like that. Like, that's considered employee relations. So it's so broad that I would say yes.
Are you resolving a lot of conflict here?
That conflict arises in every organization.
That's such an HR. Oh, that's a good answer, Ashley. I think the last bit I want to touch on is I want to make sure that we're following up so that we can kind of close the loop and make sure that everybody's on the same page and that the conflict has been resolved.
Yeah.
Right. I think that how do you think that would be the best way to do the follow-up? Is an email fine? Should we go down to the person's office? Like,
I think it depends. If the conflict was resolved at level 1 between the two employees and you all come up with some agreements, I think a simple maybe email is like, hey, thanks so much for connecting and help, working through that with me. Just wanted to send an email of a recap of our agreements. We agreed to address it quickly. You be clear, be kind. We agreed to those 3 things. And I think that's enough, right? Yeah. If it makes it up to your manager's level, then maybe your manager brings that recap together. Like, hey, this is what we agreed to, if there's issues moving forward. So maybe it's like the manager's job to kind of mediate that. If it makes it up to me, I'll be the one to send something like that. So I generally like to send some sort of follow-up that recaps what we agreed to and the conclusion that we came to.
I like that. And so that's something I should do, like more with clients. Because like clients, I we'll talk to them and they have homework, the things they need to do. But it's like if they don't execute, there's a reason they're not engaging, right? Or whatever it is. It's that root cause. What is it that's keeping us from being stalled? And we hopefully can fix that to move it up. But I don't do a lot of, hey, we talked about this and you need to do this because they're an adult and they'll either do it or they don't.
Yeah. Sometimes a good like recap email with my next step, sometimes that's helpful because it just brings it to the forefront of my mind. Like, okay, yes. Like calendar that. Like I was supposed to, these are my 3 next steps. Let me make sure I'm intentional about getting it done. I'm going to put it on my calendar. So sometimes it's helpful. If it's not something you do, but you feel like it could be helpful, it could be worth a try. Give it a week to see how it, helps out your clients.
You're saying that as like you've explained your process and work to me. I'm like, you are so methodical. You really are. I mean, everything. It's like you are though, right?
I didn't think about it that way, but I just tried.
You are. But that's good though. I mean, that works for you.
Yeah.
And it also ensures that things don't fall through the cracks, right?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things to do, and it's like if I don't have a way to track it, it will fall.
Yeah.
And then someone will follow up and like, hey, this was supposed to be done. It's like, oops.
But like just in sitting here, right? Because you've got your notes in front of you. And again, I've told everybody they're generated by AI. But then you've got all kinds of notes written next to them. And then as we're going through the points, Ashley's like, put a little star next to it. And that one is done, right? Because I just noticed that today. Because like last week I was like watching, like, why does she have a pen in her hand? Why is there a pen? There should not be a pen in your hand while you're talking. Now I know why there's a pen. I saw you do it. I'm like,
just going through my notes, making sure I touched on the pieces that I thought would be valuable. Yeah. I told you I'm laser focused. When it's your time, I'm laser focused.
You 100% are, and I love that so much. Hey, Yolanda. Yolanda jumped in there, and see you in the chat. So, fun question for the day.
Okay.
So this past weekend, me and my wife went to the Dallas Museum of Art and saw a lot of cool art stuff. Do you have a favorite picture or portrait?
Oh my goodness. I wish I had an answer for this. I wish I was artsy. In my head, I work out a lot and I'm artsy. In my mind.
But the reality is
I'm just methodical.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't think I have a favorite portrait, but I really love the idea of art. I really value artists, and I think it's fantastic. Like when people can like design buildings and like decorate buildings. It's like, who thought of all this? When I see color palettes, and I think that is just a gift. And so I really admire that, but I can't say that I have a favorite portrait. I would probably just have to say like a picture of my daughter. Like there's a really great picture of her in my office that I absolutely adore, and she'll be 16 and embarrassed that I'll still have that picture of. But it's like it's just the best. Yeah. It was just pure joy on her face.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
I do actually. My favorite painting is by the artist Edward Hopper.
Okay.
No relation. That I'm aware of. And the painting is called Nighthawks. And you may have seen it. It's probably his most famous painting. It is a 50s diner. And there's a couple there kind of together having coffee, and you see the other guy over there. It's just... I can't put my finger on exactly why, except that it's just a moment in time. And we've got I don't know where it is. We took it down. We just have a giant wooden print of it up in the house. Stephanie found a coffee mug with Nighthawks on it. That got broken. But yeah, Nighthawks by Edward Hopper.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
It's awesome.
Okay.
So, Ashley, you'll be back next week. Next week, we will be discussing interview tips for 2025. We talk a lot about interviewing, right? But job search changes from year to year. Tactics change, and that includes interview tips. So next week, we'll be talking about being up to date on interview tactics. So come back to see us next week. In the meantime, this has been Caffeinate Your Career for today. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.